So, when you decided to use your journal entries to write a book, did you already know when you started that there might be 2 volumes or even more, possibly?
I didn't know. You see, the whole thing started, I did an RT documentary, which is just 40 minutes, a radio documentary, .1. You can still listen to it if you want. It's called From Belief to Unbelief. So you can go onto the RT, you know, .1, and you can. So it was 40 minutes, and it was myself. There were 4 of us, and then the production, Nicoline Greer, who was guiding me to do it. She said, "It's too many people. We have to get it down to 3 people." So can you imagine, like, trying to get one story down to 40 minutes? We were trying to get 3 stories down to 40 minutes. So the effect of that, and that was the one that, you know, got recognised in New York festivals. But I realised after I'd done that, you know, I can't tell the story in 40 minutes on the radio. I need to write a book. So that's how the first book, In My Gut, was born. At, you know, my early life right up through the seminary and the insights and so on. And then I realised that that didn't tell the whole story, because people will come up to me and they say, "Well, what happened after that? That only takes us up to age 27. So that's why I wrote the second book, which is, by the way, is being launched next Thursday. It's sort of a new book, been launched next Thursday. So if you would like to attend, it's a Zoom launch, so you can attend from wherever you are and log into the Zoom call. So if you want to attend the Zoom of this launch next Thursday at 8 o'clock, how do you do that? Do you have the...
It's up there.
Oh, it's there.
So how to register for that Zoom launch is up there. Brilliant. And also if you want to join...
Does that give a long, complicated Zoom?
No, that's...
Oh, you just send me an email. Yeah, that's it. Send me an email, and then I'll send you the invitation.
That's it. And then if you want to see Joe's blog, is...
Thank you. Yeah, I write a Substack, which is a blog,
yeah.
Right? Almost every Friday.
So the details of those are there.
Thank you. It's called Joe the Human. Not Joe the Humanist, Joe the Human. Right, Joe the Human. So it's a Substack. So if you're interested and if you'd like to sign up to it, it's free. Substack also try to get money out of people, but so you can just do it for free, right? And 99.9% do it for free. So please do it for free, right? And just like for people to subscribe for free. So Joe the Human, just Google it, Joe the Human Substack, SUBSTACK, and that'll also give you all the details for logging on to the launch next Thursday.
So I'm looking forward to hearing about and reading the next stage of your process.
Yes, we're the love of my life. We're now married 31 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, one of the questions you asked me, Gill, was, you know, why did I... One of the reasons I joined the seminary was because my self-esteem was so bad as an adolescent, you know, 17-year-old. I thought, sure, well, no woman would ever want to marry me. You know, that's one of the reasons. And so I genuinely thought, even in Evening Marks, I had no idea that anyone would ever actually want to marry Joe Armstrong. And hey presto, one did. And she's a magnificent woman. She has changed my life. And by the way, everything I've done in life that I'm proud of, she's been involved in. I mean, my books couldn't have been written without her. She writes, you know, I write, but she'll look over everything and say, oh, you're going to say that, that's gone. Or you could rewrite that better. Or so she's super. You know, our house, our kids, all that kind of stuff. My happiness. All down to me, missus.
So would you like to tell us a bit about what we can expect in the book that you're launching this week? Okay, so in that one, the second one, by the way, they're in the same series, so it's called Losing Religion, Finding Myself. They're available on Amazon, right? Amazon. And you can buy them as a Kindle edition, which is the cheapest version. I think it's about $9.99 or something. And then the paperback edition is about 15 quid. And then there's a hardback edition, which I'm really proud of, because, you know, they're kind of pretty, but they're expensive. Do you know, I only got this for me, and I got the same for me, Mrs. So that's all. I'm the author. It feels completely different.
Oh yeah, I'm really proud of them. I mean, the hardback is gorgeous to have. So, remind me what you asked me. What's in the next book?
Yes, tell us about, because we're up to, in this book, we're up to, you've actually really decided
I take the jump.
Definitely going to leave.
So I leave and that's it, and people are saying, what happened then? So this sort of tells you what happened during the next six years. So the first thing was I did leave, but I actually went out on leave of absence. Gave me a safety net. You know, if it didn't work out, I could go back. I had 2 years leave of absence, and in fact I only needed one, and I wrote to Matt and said bye-bye after a year. And then I was looking for the love of my life, and I had various adventures in the art of all of that, and eventually I found my dear love, Ruth. Isn't Ruth a lovely name?
It is a lovely name.
Isn't it a lovely name?
And you pointed out to me that in this book, the lake in the background is in the heart shape.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and actually this has taken me before I met her, but there is. Sorry, camera, we're showing the audience, but there's a heart, a lake here.
Oh, it's shape for her.
It's in the shape for her. See it?
Yeah.
And I only came across this picture in recent years. Ruth's sister had it, and I saw it and I said, I'm having that. So I acquired this beautiful photograph, which is now adorning the front of my second memoir.
Where is the lake?
It's in an island off Greece. So it's a famous island off Greece. So she went off with the Girdles. She was a teacher and she taught in Newhall School in near Chelmsford in England, in Essex. And anyway, she went off with the girls and she had a picture taken.
Beautiful.
So it's a gorgeous picture, and she's a gorgeous person. And she loved me life.
Where did your children go to school?
Oh God, that's a long story. I was involved.
Was it a Catholic school or a non-denominational school?
Well, it's a long story because there wasn't an educate together school. So I was one of the founding parents of Navan Educate Together School. But there's another book involved in that, I can tell you. But it wasn't there at first, so they did start off in local Catholic schools. And then we set up the Educate Together School, but it's a long...
I have a grandson of 7 and First Holy Communion is on the way. So he's full of prayers and stuff. So
it's horrendous.
His mother is of the same opinion as myself, so there's pressure there, you know?
Yeah, there is pressure.
Not pressure, but he would like, obviously, to make his communion one of these.
It's very interesting because I met a couple who don't believe themselves, and they went out of the country when the first communion was happening, and then it came to the confirmation, and they thought they'd let their son decide, and he decided he wanted to go ahead with it. Yeah. So then they had to have the priest come into their house to give him instruction before he could have confirmation. Sorry?
Had he been baptised as a baby?
No, you see, he had to go. He hadn't been. So he had to go and do all that before he could have his confirmation. But they let him decide. But it's a difficult one as a parent.
It'll be a similar situation now because they're not two kids are baptised. You know, thankfully, it's another year to go. But
it's a way of manipulating people into the faith. You know, it really is. It's scandalous.
My children started in London, so they weren't baptised and they didn't go to religious school, but we moved home when they were 11 and 10. I moved home, and the first day at the school, it was Catholic school in Sligo, and the first day I said, right, now, we're not religious, and they said, oh, it's a very important year because it was 6th year and it was confirmation, and I was like, right, and there was a lot of time would be spent on that, and I said, well, do you know, if she really wants to do it, I wouldn't stop her, but she'd have to do all the other bits first. And then she said, I could put her doing Irish, and I said, great. So she was able to catch up with the Irish, while the others were doing all the religious bits.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're trying hard enough to solve the problem of children being indoctrinated. children, parents, I'm sure the majority of young parents now bringing their children to school don't want their children in the religious class. But when they say, I want them to be opt out, they're not sent to a different room, they're sent to the back of that class, which isn't right, because they're still listening to what the teacher is saying. And I have a friend who has children go to school, and the little boy, she didn't have him baptized, they were atheists, and she asked the head teacher, could he be excused from the religion class? They said, sorry, we don't have the accommodation for that. He can just sit at the back of the class. So he comes home from school one day and said to the mother, Mom, the teacher said that God made me. And he was upset. And the mother said, no, we made you. So how is that child exactly? Well, the teacher says one thing, my mother says another. I think it's completely wrong, and there should be able, where there's a will, there's a way. There should be a way of finding a place for those children. They can go to teachers who are teaching the children with learning difficulties. All those primary schools, they have extra teachers in. I'm sure there would be a way of sending the children to a teacher that's into a room. It could be arranged with a will.
Yeah.
It's also a way of manipulating teachers.
Yes.
You know, teachers have to have this Catholic certificate, whatever. Or there, you know, there are so many Catholic schools in the country that if you don't have this, you're reducing your possibilities professionally. You know, and then in turn, then they have to go along and either fool themselves or fool others into thinking that they believe it, and then in turn indoctrinate another whole generation.
Maybe we could hear a bit from your second book,
sure.
And then we'll open up after we've heard about Saved by a Woman. We can open up the floor to discussion again afterwards.
Okay. Yeah. So this is so I've set my eye. I've literally seen Ruth for the first time, and trying to find an excuse to go back to Newhall School to see her again. So it was Easter, and let me see. Let me just read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So. Okay, by Good Friday, the eve of my 30th birthday, I had arrived at Newhall for the Easter Triduum, you know, Holy Saturday, Sunday, or Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter Sunday. Ruth is lovely, I journaled. I enjoyed eating with her. Sister Stephanie, Newhall was run by a Catholic congregation called, wait till you hear this, the Canonesses of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, try saying that with a few gin and tonics on you. But anyway, they're a lovely, lovely congregation, very fond of them, and but quite a name, the Canonesses of the Holy Sepulchre. So I enjoyed eating with her. Sister Stephanie, lovely woman, put us sitting together. I wanted to touch Ruth. I enjoyed the dance of our eye contact, our conversation, our fun and laughter. I might suggest to Ruth that we meet sometime next week, or go for a hike, or ramble. I'm still that alga on the water, like alga. Except I see it more positively now. I had this image of myself as being rudderless on the sea, you know, just being pushed this way and that. I see it more positively now, having thought about it and shared it. I can see it as my essential self, as the one piece of me free of falseness. And the next bit shows, you know, I was still thinking in terms of God and religion as part of me made by God. And it is closer to the water than when I imagined myself in a big boat or ship, closer even than when I thought of myself as paddling in a solitary canoe. Sister Stephanie thought I seemed open and free, and she sensed my anger and hurt. 4 years since I've done a retreat. 3 years since I went out on leave of absence. 2 years since I decided to leave the Marists. And just a little over a year since receiving dispensation from my vows. I thoroughly enjoyed the meal and Mass tonight. I had a beautiful moment with Ruth. We were alone in her flat around midnight on a Holy Saturday. She offered me a biscuit from a packet of chocolate biscuits. It was her present to me on my 30th birthday. That tiny act My best ever birthday gift felt somehow like sealing the deal with chocolate. She knew I was interested in her, and by that tiny gesture in that moment, she communicated that she was interested in me too. At 2:40 a.m. that morning, alone in my bedroom at Newhall, I journalled, "A great Easter. I'm so glad I did a retreat at Stanbrook and the Triduum here at Newhall. It has been time, quality time, very well spent. P.S. Ruth." When I returned to Ilford, where I was living, I told Ken all about Ruth. He reached for a CD of the Waterboys and selected and played one track for me. A Man is in Love.
Putting it away, I thought you were not going to read some more things out of there.
Oh, well, I could, but... How are we doing at the time?
What is the time?
It's 3:05. They'd be protesting, they'd be saying, "Let us go, he's talked for long enough."
Would you like to hear more, or would you like just to ask questions and comments?
Any more opinions from people?
I think they've tolerated
What do you
it long
think?
enough.
A bit more reading.
More reading?
bit more.
Yes.
More reading. We take a vote.
Who would like more reading? Who would like to open up the floor? Well, there's not many people saying anything much. Let's just have one more. Do you get to a stage here where you actually don't believe in God? Does that come into this book?
It's fascinating. Like that experience of, "My God, I don't believe," it literally has taken me a lifetime to unpack that. You know, because despite that moment of realization, I don't believe in any of it. And it didn't just mean my vocation. I didn't believe any of it. Afterlife, Catholic Church, any God, any religion, it was all BS. But it's still, you know, as you've heard, I'm still using the language of religion a few years later. It's really hard to unpack that thinking. So, no, it's taken me a lifetime, which is why it'll probably take me another book even after this one.
Comes down to what the Jesuit says, "Give me the child when I'm 7 years old."
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
It's a big wrench to have to do it.
Yeah, so you have to rethink, because you were like it kind of warps your brain how you think, because you're taught things as fact which aren't true. And then you have to rethink it all, and you know, it's like this web of, you know, going through your brain, and you have to say, "Oh no, you know, that isn't true anymore." So,
how did your parents take it when you decided to leave definitively?
my dad had died, so it was only my mother. My mother was a difficult woman. She was inscrutable. In fact, to be fair to her, she took it a lot better than, some of the priests whom, you know, I would have expected more from.
Because at that time, to have a priest in the family was...
Yeah, at that time, but kind of my time was the 1980s, right? I joined in 1980, I left in 1989. I know, like this book has, you know, I've had people contact me who spent any time in seminary, including people who spent time in seminary maybe 20 years before I did. They had a totally different experience than I did. Like, for them, my experience was really liberal and really avant-garde and so on. Some of them had that period of time where it was such a shame to leave. You were a spoiled priest if you left.
I joined the Augustinians in 58.
Oh, really?
And I left in 61. 63, sorry, 63.
I was born in... Yeah, it would have been very different. Very different. And would you have felt that kind of shame?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to go to my parents. I come back to London. I was in Spain for a few years, studying there. So I came back to London, and it was with great trepidation that I came back to Ireland to break the word. Well, they knew I'd left, but that actually encounter them was difficult.
Yeah, and you know, like your experience was very different than mine, but there were still remnants of that by my time.
Yeah.
Like I was told when I was leaving, I was told tell nobody. And I, like, to be fair to them, I'm trying to be fair to them. Perhaps they thought, well, he's going on a leave of absence, maybe he'll be back, and if he tells everybody he's leaving, it'll be more awkward for him if he comes back. That might have been their thinking. But I actually found that really hard, because the guy who drove me to the airport, I was going off to teach Spain for 2 months that summer, did not know that I was going out on leave of absence. The Mars priest, whom I respected, a really nice guy, he didn't know, and I'd been told, don't tell people. So I found that really, really hard. And in a sense, one of the reasons I wrote this book is because when you take final profession, which I had done, I'd take my final vows. So as far as the Mars were concerned, I was there for life. And, you know, they were committed to me for life as well. But that was a public thing. My relatives were at that. My family were there. And yet when I left, I was told, tell nobody. You know? And I you know, in a sense, this is well, hang on a bit. I'm not ashamed of choosing to leave because I don't believe it. You know? And so maybe writing the book for me, part of the thing was, well, this is my public act to say, I left for a good reason. I don't believe it. Pretty good reason. And it's a public statement. You know, and I won't be go away quietly, no telling anybody.
So rather than bringing shame on the family, you can be proud of yourself that you had the courage to do that.
Yeah, and my mother, again, to be fair to her, she did say that to me. You know?
So you, along the way, had dreams of being a writer. So how is it to be here now and to have achieved all you have achieved in terms of writing?
Yeah, it's lovely. You know, I went into teaching for 5 years, and I was a good teacher, but I knew it wasn't my vocation. You know, I knew it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So I had a very similar dynamic starts again. You know, I'm now, instead of being in the priesthood, I'm now teaching, but what I really want to be doing is writing. So I again had that, you know, I was up on the fence, and will I leave and will I not? So eventually I did the second, but this book is sort of a spoiler if I tell you how it ends. No, maybe it is.
I'm dying to hear more of it.
I just read another bit. But yeah, that was an issue. What piece would I read? There's humour. Let me find a little bit of humour. There's lots of humour, I think. There's the birth of my son. I could read a bit of that. Will I read a bit of the birth of my son?
That'd be lovely.
Okay. So this is in 1994, December 1994. So Joe, it's almost there. It's nearly talking to me. So this is done as a dialogue. So if I say Joe, it's because I'm talking, right? It's almost there. It's nearly talking to me. Senior midwife, right, you've got to give me one more good last push. Otherwise we're going to have to put something there. Ruth, oh no. Senior midwife, just go for it. Concentrate on pushing down. Midwife, sorry, if this is bringing back bad moment memories to any women here who've had a baby, just tell me and I'll shut up. Shall I proceed? Okay. Ruth, no, it gives me something to hold. Midwife, do you want to get rid of that mask out of your hands? So she's holding a gas mask. Ruth, no, it gives me something to hold. Midwife, we don't want any energy going in there. We want it all to go down into your butt. All of it. Joe, it's so far out. Come on, darling. Senior midwife, go on. Come on, come on. She says, yes. Senior midwife, come on. Joe, keep it coming, yes. Senior midwife, go on. Joe says, yes. Midwife, he's coming. That's lovely. Keep it coming. Ruth, I can't. Senior midwife, listen to me. One more hard push and you can go. Do it for me. Come on. Go on. You're doing fine. Ruth with a high-pitched exclamation. Ah! Joe, go on, darling. It's really beautiful. Ruth, fuck! Our only time, by the way, because I've been slagging her and waiting for her to say it. And she finally said it. Senior midwife, give it a push, Ruth. Midwife, the head's out. Senior midwife, you gotta push. Ruth, oh Jesus, it hurts so. Oh. Midwife, it's exactly 8 o'clock. Ruth, it's a boy. I'm getting all emotional. It's a boy, my son. He's such a little thing. Well done, Ruth. He's fine. Senior midwife, a bit slow, because he's male. She was so funny. Joe, hey. Senior midwife, congratulations. That was an awful slog, wasn't it? The next one won't be anything like that, though. Ha! Did you use forceps, senior midwife? No, dear. We just shouted at you. You did it all yourself. What are you going to call him, this baby? Ruth, John. And then I say, John Michael Armstrong. Senior midwife, look. Ruth holding the baby. Ah, how are you? You're nice and big. And then to me, are you all right? My wife thinking of me, she's just given birth. Senior midwife, you're a wonderful woman. What are you, Ruth? A wonderful woman. And I repeated, what are you? I'm a wonderful woman. Joe, you're a wonderful mother. Hang on, and I'll learn to hold Daddy, the baby. He looks like me dad. He did. My son looked like it was the weirdest thing. I thought, my wife has given birth to my father. Anyway. Ah, you're gorgeous, says Ruth. That's your daddy. Joe, hello little fella. How are you doing? Do you want a pint? Midwife, Guinness is it? Joe, what else could I drink? I bet you want one as well. Ruth, I wouldn't mind one either. Joe, I can't believe that this child was inside your body. He's so big. Senior midwife, I know. You don't know how much they weigh until you try to push them out. Ruth, yeah. Joe, hello little boy. And we'll lay in Gaelge gut. Do you know any Irish? How are you? And then his eyes opened. Ruth, yeah, that time they opened. Baby John cried. Hello, you're probably wondering who the hell is this big ugly character? Ruth, he probably knows your voice. You've been singing to him for 9 months. Joe, how are you? You're giving me a wink. Senior midwife, he's probably saying, give me a break, Dad. Joe to the baby, how are you? You all right? Are you getting cold? Ruth, his little footies are falling out. Joe, now they're both open, both eyes are open. Senior midwife, some needlework. Are you all right? Shout at me, Ruth, if you feel anything and we'll give you the gas. Ruth, oh. Senior midwife, he seems a big old boy. Nappy, his nappy won't fit. Senior midwife, his nappy won't fit. Now is not the time to worry about that. Midwife, right, come on young John. You're not as heavy as you look. 8 pounds, 13 ounces, heavy enough. Senior midwife, what do you think of that? Ruth, big. Senior midwife, okay. Now, put your legs together, dear, and keep them that way for the next 6 weeks.
So, the title of that book is Saved by a Woman.
Yeah.
How did she save you?
Well, I love the title, right? There's a song by Ray LaMontagne called Trouble. And in that song he uses the word saved by a woman. I've been saved by a woman. And by the way, I wanted that song at the launch next Thursday, and I literally couldn't afford what they wanted me to pay them to have it sung. Just for my friend to sing it. Anyway, sorry, no offence. But I would have loved it. Saved by a Woman, so the title. So there's a sort of play, because the whole Christian thing, you know, is that we need to be saved by Jesus. No, we don't. We really don't. We don't need to be saved at all. But so, and also within the Catholic tradition, especially, you know, Mary is the, you know, almost like this mother God, you know, the mother of God, who was born without the stain of original sin, making up his stuff. But this idea of, you know, Jesus couldn't have saved us without Mary saying yes, or fiat. So it's a kind of a play on that, but it's actually a play on a real woman who really saved my life. Because, you know, that sense of, that childhood sense or that adolescent or young adult sense I had that no woman would be ever interested in me, not true. So, and she saved me from all of that negative self-talk, and, you know, we have had a really good, loving relationship. 31 years married. You know, everything. My writing career, I couldn't have done it without her. She has supported me all the way. You know, eventually I chucked in the teaching and set myself up as a writer, and, you know.
Here you are.
And here I am.
Mm. So, any questions or comments now from anybody on the floor?
Just where will I stop that?
Yeah, yes.
Or do you want to close?
Yes. Keep going. Keep going. But I'm conscious that you should never test your audience beyond the endurance of the pants off there. You know, the chair might be uncomfortable. You might say, it's time to go, and you stop asking questions. You might have had enough. But if you want, I'm happy to stay as long as you like.
I just wonder, in the transition from believing, deeply believing, then not believing, what was your journey deep inside you?
Freedom.
What's the replacement? Or
you don't need to replace what's rubbish. I nearly said another word. But it's freedom. Like when I cycle past the church on a Sunday and I see them all going to Mass, I just think, oh, thank God I've outgrown all of that nonsense.
And you did say there, thank God.
Yeah, I know. Because it's like you can't say hello in Irish, can you? Do you go? How do you? And it's language. It's part of us. I still say, oh my God.
Yeah,
no, it's really hard.
And I heard you say there's a place at the birth of Jesus. You know, so there's something. There's a connection and there's a disconnect, and I just wonder how does that sit within one's being? You know?
Well, I mean, if I'm at Mass, you know, if I'm at a funeral or something like that, I find myself spitting teeth. Because like from the first word go at the Mass, they're talking about sin. You know, I confess to you, Almighty God. And I think, would you stop it? You know, their whole worldview is that we're sinners and we need to be saved. You know, it's nonsense, and I believed it.
But I'm looking for something. There's a big vacant hole there, in my opinion. From there must be something that sustains us. You know, I know from the Catholic upbringing, everyone said, "Well, what's the use?" It said, "Waste of time." You know, why on earth am I trying to be good if there's no hereafter and all of that? Right?
Yeah.
So what drives you just to live one day at a time, your best self? You know, take the tradition out of it, take what you've been taught out of it. And for somebody who might never have had the background of religion of any sort.
Well, for me, it's freedom, it's humanity, it's trying to live my one and only life. This is my one and only life, and at the moment the only place I'm living my one and only life is right here in this room with you people.
Yeah.
You know, this is it.
Well, my confusion is, if I look around at the universe, and I look at, and this is what keeps me going, I have to admit, and the vastness and the beauty of it all, and it's just not, there's nothing beyond it, you know, and the human being is greater than that as far as I'm concerned, and more beautiful from inside out. Like, where are the origins, and that's not a very good word, where has it all come from? If there isn't something, I mean, did any science or man or woman put all this together? It's such a mystery to me.
Well, it's a mystery, but you know, the thing is, we don't need making up stuff to marvel in the joy and the wonder of it all. It is even more wonderful when you realise that each of us in this room is a singularity. That there's nobody in human history who's been like you. You know, nobody ever existed like you before, and nobody will ever exist like you before. And you are alive now. And now is a blink in the history of the universe. It's just a blink, you know, because the shortness of our lives, we're like, you know, our lifespan is minuscule isn't even the word for it, you know, compared to the size and the age of the universe.
And that makes it even more, you know, in my mind, listening even to your response to that it even deepens within me the question that no matter, I'm nice to say God, it's not an effort for me at the moment, but that's not an effort. But yet, there's this depth within me that says, my goodness, there's something greater than me.
Yeah.
To talk about greater than the universe. And okay, so what's it all about? If I can just simplify it, if you want to simplify, and I don't mean to, what would you say, simplify it, but listening to the description and your response, we'll say, to going into Mass, and it's this, that and the other. For the people who do really genuinely believe in it, I would say they're as convinced about it as you are as convinced, or anyone else.
I used to be convinced of it too.
Yeah,
you know.
you know, and yet maybe I'm just trying to satisfy my own journey in life, which is a struggle all the time, and yet I cannot get away from the fact that there is out there and in here is greater than me, and I am sufficient and I am enough, but yet I didn't know man, woman alone. Together man, woman created me to a degree. Maybe the biggest lesson I had in my life, okay, I have a medical background, all right, but I remember going in the States to an exhibition of the body, and it was, I've never forgotten it. The detail of every, I did pray for every body that was dissected there, because it was something very precious. But the detail that's within us is incredible. Now, no matter how man and woman unite together in the act of love, you know, that is not solely and totally what created me into this extraordinary piece of work. You know what I mean? There's something greater, and I'm just expressing that, and I'd love to be able to get an answer.
I guess I think though it's even more wonderful when you take the God stories out of it. You know, when you just concentrate on the facts. You know, I think scientists have this sense that we are stardust. You know, and that in the sense, you know, we'll live forever, whatever. Our cells will become something else, like whether it's pushing up trees or. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. So you know, there are people who could answer your question better in the scientific sense. I love, what's his name? The guy who used to be in the. He used to be
just down to nature. That the woman is talking about.
Brian Cox.
One of the things is that nature. And I think religion started at the very beginning, earlier mankind, because of ignorance. They didn't know what's going on, and they were trying to get answers. If they heard a thunder, they thought there's somebody up there. There must be somebody moving furniture up there. It was just pure ignorance, not knowing, and they invented this idea. And of course, I think that the Christian religion was helped by the Roman emperor, who thought, this is a wonderful idea. if you do anything wrong and then you go to hell, this is a great way of making people do what you tell them. And he says, I want everyone in the Roman Empire to become Christian. And that was followed on afterwards. To think that then that they forced that on people, and people who didn't believe were burned at the stake. How can anyone think that that's right?
Yeah. And like Christianity is a very recent religion. You know, we go back tens of thousands of years, and that's only 2,000 years.
But it is true that there is something greater than us. You know, we live in a town, we live in a country, we live in the world, we live in a universe.
Yeah.
You know, so we are part of something larger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And you could think in terms of energy. You know, in my work, you know, we think of an energetic field. We have a field within us and around us, and this need for some people to believe in God is a need to be connected, to feel a connection to something greater than themselves. Because a lot of us just are cut off because we're stuck in our heads, we're not feeling it in our guts.
And for some people, that is the way they do connect with that sense of a meaning beyond themselves, and that's fine. You know, the problem, of course, with religion is they're not happy just for people to have that sense of wonder and awe, or marveling at life, or you know that generations exist before them and may exist after them. Religions then try to control people. You know, oh, you can't have an abortion. Or, oh, you guys are gay, you can't get married. You know, like religions go from what might be good in itself, some sense of wonder and seeking for the meaning, the deeper meaning beyond what we see. But then they go into, oh, let's control everybody. You know, that's, maybe not every religion does that, but I don't know any religion that doesn't.
I listened to and watched Richard Dawkins.
Yeah.
And Christopher Hitchens, well, he's gone now, but it explains an awful lot. But say science doesn't have all the answers, but it's working towards the answers. Religion has no answers. It's all belief. It's all based on belief. Whereas science is, well, I think most of us believe in science.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Yes, I have one. How do you feel about spirituality? You know,
spirituality is a very ambiguous word, right? Like the human spirit in itself is also an ambiguous word. For some, for perhaps a lot of religious people, they will think of it in terms of eternal soul and all that kind of stuff. But the, you know, psyche root of the word psychology is kind of about how you are and yourself, your feelings, your thoughts, your mental health, your emotional health. If that's what we're talking about, then the human spirit is hugely important, because, you know, you can be depressed, you know, you can be full of hope and joy, you can feel inhibited, you can feel self-expressing, you know. So that sense of the human spirit is real and tangible. You know, you can see somebody whose spirit is crushed or whose spirit is alive. But the danger with the word spirituality is that it kind of gets, because it's an ambiguous word, it can get into, you know, this sense of spirits in the sky, or you know, ways of thinking that are kind of otherworldly. So it's an ambiguous thing. But if bias, I don't think it's a helpful word personally, whereas the human spirit is, again, if people might think by that, oh, your eternal soul, no, that's not my understanding of it at all, because I don't think we have one. But the human spirit, how we are, how we think, how we feel, that makes sense. Spirituality, it's just, for me, it's too...
Say, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual.
Yeah,
I could never understand. I still can't understand it.
Well, yes. Well, perhaps it means like what this lady is talking about, that sense of being open to wonder and joy and awe, and that's fine. That's, if you're not, then there's something.
It's human nature to do that.
Yeah. But you know, spirituality, just, you know, like I hear things like Mara's spirituality. You know, if by that they mean, I don't know what they mean by that, to be honest with you. You know, a way of being in the world. You know, there was a particular way that Maras were meant to be. They were meant to kind of be like Mary in the world, obedient and attentive, and I just found the thing so forced. You know, rather than be yourself in the world, think for yourself, feel for yourself, express yourself, judge for yourself, act on the basis of. I never got that in the seminary. I didn't anyway.
I once gave a very controversial presentation at the Humanist Summer School, the HAI Summer School, and the title was An Organic Sense of Spirit. So what I was talking about is what I just said now was this feeling, a sense from my, you know, physically, from my being, that I was part of something greater than just this physical self. So, but that's not spirituality. That's just a sense of connection to something larger than myself.
But can I ask you, Jill, were you brought up as a believer?
Yes.
You
yes,
were.
My parents were Anglican Protestants.
Anglican, yeah.
Yeah.
And you went to an Anglican school?
I went, well, no, it wasn't a church-run school. It was, like I grew up in England.
Yeah,
so
a state school.
It was a state school, yeah.
And
so we had assembly in the mornings. I was baptised, I was christened, I was confirmed. So in my teens I was confirmed, but then, you know.
And then when did you leave? Is that a gradual thing?
I think that was a gradual thing, that I believed less and less.
Yeah.
I used to feel uncomfortable, and in fact, in church, I'd feel uncomfortable, and I'd feel I had to leave.
You didn't think it was true.
I think our guests, someone may need to go.
Yes, I think. Well, you may need to go. You've been in the hot chair. So yeah, we'll round up. So thank you very much, Jill. Thanks for very interesting. Again, details. So the launch is on Thursday at what time?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. online, and the details are there. And if you want to subscribe to Joe's
Joe the Human, Joe the Human, not human, human, Joe the Human. So if you Google Joe the Human, you'll find me, and I can send you the details, or just email me, Joe Celebrant, if you want to do that, at gmail.com, and I'd love to have you there. And if you want to buy a book but don't feel obliged.
So they're 15?
They're 15 quid, yeah.
15, yeah. And so
and cheap, as the man says, at half the price.
And you might sign them.
I'd be very happy to sign them, yeah. But please don't feel under any obligation whatsoever.
Yeah. Now this is a little tradition that we have, and we have a speaker. But you can save this up until October or Christmas.
Oh, it's fine, isn't
it? He was telling me earlier that he decided not to have an alcoholic drink until after he'd finished doing his audio book. So,
can you believe this? Well, firstly, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, last anecdote. I'm currently recording the audiobook of this. That's available in audiobook as well.
Oh, cool.
But it's it takes me ages. So I thought, to motivate me to do it as quickly as possible, I decided New Year's Eve or thereabouts, I won't have an alcoholic drink until I have finished the audiobook. So here's the thing, it is now early March. In this book there are 100 episodes, and on the 1st, 2nd, whatever we are, 3rd of March, I have done 11. So I reckon at best it'll be Halloween, and more likely Christmas before I can open this. Thank you very much.
Or you can give it to your wife.
Or I can give it to my wife. No, I'm not going to give it to my